Hello, and thank you for joining me on the Why It Works mini-series. Today we're going to look at PowerPoint, and I've got 6 slides to share with you. And I really want this to be a visual representation of how things can look okay and how they can look better. If we move on to our first slide, what we're going to consider first is why less text makes stronger slides. Now, on the top right hand side, we've got a slide that tries to say everything. It's full sentences. There's lots of detail. All the information, just in case. But what actually happens is this. People start reading. They stop listening. And now your slide is competing with you. If we look at the same version on the bottom left, it's the same idea, the same message, but only the essential information. The slide supports the speaker. It doesn't replace them. And this changes the whole energy of the room. People look at you. They listen. They stay engaged. Slides aren't meant to be documents. They're supposed to be visual prompts. They're anchors for your message. When you use less text, you're saying, I'm confident enough to speak. I trust myself to explain this to you. I don't need my slides to do all the talking for me. And that confidence is what people really respond to. On the next slide, we're going to consider why white space makes slides feel confident. And this is a subject that makes a huge difference. On the top right-hand slide, it's full. Every corner is being used. So nothing is technically wrong, but it does feel a bit busy. Everything is tight and jammed in, and it's quite stressful to look at. Your eyes don't know where to rest, and the reader worries that they've got to skim through it all before the next slide comes up. If we look at the version on the bottom left, it's the same idea, the same messages, but there's space. Space around the text, space around the images, space to breathe. And the whole slide just feels calmer. White space says, I'm not rushing. I'm not panicking. You don't need to. I know what matters here. Crowded slides feel nervous. Spaced slides feel confident. So white space isn't empty. It's doing its job. It tells the audience, this is clear. This is intentional. And this slide is under control. Now we're going to look at why structure tells a better story. In a very similar way to a Word document, structure tells a better story. On the top right-hand side, all the information is correct. It just feels a little bit random. You're not quite sure where you are or where you're going next. Some slides don't even have headers. If we look at the version on the bottom left, there's a flow. This leads to that. That goes on to here. Each slide has its place. And suddenly it feels like a journey, not a list. Structure gives people confidence. They can start to relax because they trust the direction you're taking them in. They're not wondering, why are we here now? What's going to be on the next slide? They're thinking, I get where this is going. So good presentations are not about flashy slides. They're about creating clear thinking. Which brings us very nicely to our next slide, which is why clarity beats clever wording. And this is a little bit like the over-engineering that I talked about in Excel. At the top, the sentence here is very intelligent. It's a bit fancy. But you have to think about what it means. And actually, you probably have to read it a few times and then translate it in your mind. Every second you spend decoding the words is a second that you are not listening to the speaker. Now we look at the version at the bottom. Simple words, clear meaning, no guessing, and you understand it instantly. Clarity respects people's attention. It doesn't make them work harder than they need to. Clever wording might show intelligence, but clear wording shows care. So the best slides aren't the ones that sound impressive. They're the ones that are understood first time, every time. Now, the next slide I want to talk about is why consistency usually matters more than creativity. At the top, the slide deck we've got here, everything's a little bit different. We've got different fonts, different sizes, different spacing, different styles, long bodies of text, and then some slides with almost nothing on at all. Even though each might look nice and professional on its own, together it feels a bit messy. Your brain has to keep adjusting to the different styles and keep learning how to reread each section. Now, if we look at the presentation on the right, the same style is used throughout, the same spacing, the same rhythm, and suddenly it feels calm. Consistency lets people focus on the message, not the formatting. They're not distracted by all the changes, it's supported by sameness. Creativity is lovely, but consistency is kind. It says, I've made this easy for you. And that's what really good documents are all about. And that brings me really nicely to the final slide in this series, which is to discuss why templates reduce stress. On the left-hand side, everything has been made from scratch. So there's lots of decisions every single time in every single slide. Colours, fonts, layouts, it's a bit exhausting. And then if we look at the version of the right, the decisions have already been made. The layout is already there. You just focus on your message. Suddenly creating slides is much lighter. It's easier. Templates don't limit you. They free you. They remove that design fatigue, the decisions that you have to make. They remove doubt, and they remove a lot of wasted time. Templates are not lazy, they're kind. And they're kind to your time and to your brain. I hope you found this little mini series helpful. I do have other series that are written in a similar vein on Microsoft Word and Excel, so please be sure to check them out too. Thank you.